When I was little, I used to look up at the sky and pray to the clouds thinking that they were God, and the stars were windows from the heavens, and thunder was just a big party above. I didn't want to dig too far down at the beach because I was scared that the ground would open up into hell and I might slip and fall into the red, fiery landscape and never be able to leave. Now, these ideas seem crazy, I know, but when I was little, I was told that God made the heavens above and the earth below. I was also told that heaven was above hell, so logically hell would be below earth, otherwise hell would be above heaven, and never mind, this is getting really complicated. As a kid, everything is physical. Things are either real and tangible or not. So the only way for me to make sense of things was to put it into my reality. Hence the stars, the thunder, and the clouds becoming what they did in my little mind. God is often described as human, so I was confused when I was told that God is everywhere, because I took that literally, meaning God is literally everywhere, and that didn't make sense in my brain because you can't breathe in solid masses, and if God is a person, you can't really breathe in people, so my brain didn't understand that God could be everywhere. So for a while, I didn't believe in God. It just didn't make sense. But I think I finally understand what people meant when they said that. Now I know that hell isn't in the core of the earth or Australia. Instead, it's below our hearts and our souls and our minds. Also, hell might not burn red like I described earlier. It may burn blue. Revelations 20:10 mentions a lake of burning sulfur. And if you took basic chemistry, you might remember that sulfur burns a bluish purple color. That's not really relevant, I just thought that was a cool fact. And God isn't physically everywhere, as I thought as a child, but you can see God everywhere. In nature, like the waves that tackled us on our mission trip to Florida. Like this in the weather, like the snow that locked us in on our ski trip this year. And in other people, like the members of youth group that I grew up with, and the members of the church that helped raise me. So whether you believe that God is a physical being standing next to you, or just the rustling of the leaves in the wind, just know that it's safe to dig at the beach without fear of falling into eternal torment, and that people see God in you.
My time at St. Paul's has been nothing but amazing thanks to all of you wonderful people. When I was younger, this place was just somewhere that I would come on Christmas Eve and Easter and then leave right after communion, which my parents told me was the halfway point. I didn't find out until later that it wasn't actually halfway. As I grew older and my brother Charles entered confirmation class, I began to come more frequently on Sundays. I learned about how great this place and the Episcopal Church is through videos with monsters talking. I entered 5th grade and began to acolyte. The community was super welcoming to a shy little kid named William. After a few weeks, I decided that I wanted to take over and began to light the candles before church. But then I would forget to put them out so I could be the first one to get a snack after sitting through the long service. Acolyting became my life on Sunday mornings when I'd get my parents out of bed to drive me to church even if they weren't going, just to see if someone that was scheduled didn't show up. In 6th grade, I entered youth group. This felt like a new world to me, but I was still the super obnoxious and annoying 6th grader that no one wanted to be around. Through mission trips and weekly youth group meetings, Hope Hutchins made every second worth it. We took a trip to Indianapolis, where our youth group didn't talk to anyone outside of our small bubble, and it never seemed right. The next year we went to Florida, and again we stayed in our tiny bubble playing basketball. Just to remind everyone, Father Joe could not beat me in basketball. I believe my team won that game by at least 50 points. Hope forced us to take a trip with St. Timothy's the next year to serve the Atlanta community. We rode the whole way in Hope's car complaining about how awful it was going to be. Once we got to Atlanta, one guy came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to play basketball with me?" I ended up sticking by his side the whole trip and getting in trouble together, but that story's for another time. He asked me to go on this weekend retreat with him in the fall called Happening. I said sure and never thought about it again. Once the fall came around, I was told by Hope to go to Happening with him and with the other people I'd met. When I arrived, I walked through a tunnel of people cheering for me, and I was greeted by a girl that I'd met on the trip, and she told me how happy she was that I was there. The people all around me opened me with welcoming arms and made me have the greatest experience ever. I continued to go to Happening, meeting some of my best friends and convincing other youth from St. Paul's to come with me. In the spring of my junior year, I was asked to have a leadership role and give a talk about Jesus Christ to the group. I talked about the story of Zacchaeus, the death and resurrection of Jesus, and a time that Jesus gave me grace. And lastly, I talked about a Bible verse that means the world to me. Psalms 119:73 says, "Thy hands have made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn thy commandments." I've lived by this verse ever since the death of my cousin and the diagnosis of my mom's breast cancer. At the end of the weekend, the director of the diocese, Caroline Wood, asked me to have a meeting with her. I sat down and she asked me to be the lay rector for Happening in the spring of 2023. I accepted in a heartbeat. Being the lay rector at Happening 83 was truly a joy, but what was better was seeing so many of your children there with me. My first time on team for Happening, there were 2 of us. By this past spring, the number had risen to 10 St. Paul's participants out of the 20 high schoolers who attended. It was truly amazing to see this community take over and to see each one shine their respective role. The leaders of this church have been nothing but support me through these processes. Father Quinn reached out to me when I was going through a hard time. Grace Wooten helped us with the youth group and was always there to support me when I needed help and would always ask for help when she needed it. Father Murdoch made an effort to always check in on me and how my week went. Father Joe would always say, "This is my body which is given to you. Take this in remembrance of me." He would always play games with us and make sure everyone was having a great time no matter where we were. Mackenzie Teal came into this job this year and has been a joy to work with. She definitely keeps me in line, and I try to do the same for her. Father Brad became my biggest supporter when I attended Happening. I'll never forget the text I sent my dad when I had to play in Shrove Tuesday last year. The text talked about how much of a leader I had become and how proud of me he was. And lastly, Hope Hutchins, now Westervelt. Hope arrived at St. Paul's around the same time that I entered 6th grade. She always knew that something great was going to come out of me when I became older. She's one of the people who truly believed in me and pushed me to get out of my comfort zone. Hope pushed me to go to Happening and meet new people. I would not be the person I am today without her. The day Hope told me that she was leaving St. Paul's and heading to Atlanta was one of the hardest days in my life. She was a role model for me in my life and just someone the world doesn't deserve. Hope meant the world to me. This youth group has changed me as a person. The older kids always looked at me and knew I was going to be something great one day. McLean Shaw and William Odell never failed to make sure everyone else was mad when they wanted to play a game. Elsie Elliott was always there to make everyone else laugh. Liam Enzyme was there to lighten the mood. Peyton Kramer made sure everything was kept in check. Ellie Odell was there to give a laugh and make sure everyone was having fun. Claire Scotchy became a sister to me, where we could always have fun no matter in the church or out. Atlee Elliott became a best friend to me, who was always there to talk on a hard day or just sit on a dock and look at the lake in the night sky. This past year has been nothing but special in this congregation with all of you. When I was asked this year to take the role of head acolyte, it was a no-brainer moment. That was going to look great in my college application. Throughout this year, I've forgotten about how it looks in my college application and remember how great it is to be able to serve with each and every youth in this church. Getting to serve with some of the younger kids has been a joy because of how much fun they make the service. We also have been known to call some acolyte groups dream teams when it's an all-high school crew. Needless to say, being with each of the youth up here by the altar has been a joy throughout my years of serving. As my time at St. Paul's comes to an end, I want to thank each and every one of you for all you've done for me, my family, and the youth group. This place has become a home to me where I know I'll always be accepted. I love St. Paul's with my whole heart and know it will always fill my heart with love and joy. Amen.